We are live. This is the Black Powder Podcast. I am Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian that has ever existed in the history of the Libertarian Party. I am joined by my exponentially gracious host, Eric Parker from the great state of North Carolina. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Hanging out. I'm on my day 2 of 3 days off in a row. I work a weird work schedule. It rotates when I'm working weekends, when I'm off. So this is my long weekend in the middle of the week.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to excuse me, send a special shout out to Tub, who went Tony the Tiger on us and flaked, and it wasn't even frosted. That's the worst part about it. We didn't get anything sweet out of Tub not being here tonight. And Tub, if
He
you're
just said, "I don't like you guys very much. I'm not coming on."
and it hurt. It went right to the feels. I'm not even gonna lie. That was absolutely terrible on your part, Tub. And
Yeah, Tub.
I hope you feel bad because this message is for you. You hurt our feelings.
Tub,
And
I
with
just
that,
want to point out, you not being here makes me like Marcus a little bit more. So that's all your fault, Tub.
I want to thank our good guy Joe for looking out for us because we were looking for a guest. But to be fair, I didn't want to have a. After I thought about it, it wouldn't be fair to the guest that we didn't do enough promotion for them so they could send it out to their people, their potential constituents. So everybody that Joe mentioned, we're gonna reach out to them and we're gonna try to get them on the show. So thank you very much, Joe. I also want to say cancel hashtag cancel Tub should be in the forefront of everybody's minds going forward. Because if he's willing to do this to somebody like me, the only real libertarian, and a great guy in Eric, who you want to hang out with, I want to go bowling with Eric, have some beers, possibly no, not possibly. I want to go fishing with Eric, catch some bluegill, fry it up, drink some more beers, and talk a whole bunch of libertarian stuff. The
Those are
fact
all
that
things I'm not really good at other than the beer drinking. Like I'm not a great bowler, even though I wear shirts like this. And, you know, I'm not a great fisherman, even though I live in North Carolina. It's got some delicious rainbow trout, but I just go to the farmer's market and buy it. I haven't caught any trout since I've lived here. I got friends back home in Florida that have boats that can get offshore. I grew up 15 minutes from the beach my entire life. I'm not a great fisherman either. I enjoy it. I have fun and I love to eat seafood. But yeah, I am good at drinking beer.
did I stereotype you because of your accent
Yes.
that
Yes.
I
You just
assumed that
assumed.
I
I mean, like,
assumed that you like fishing.
no, I do. I'm just not good at it. Like,
And,
and what
and
I mean is, like, I don't own a boat, but what's better than owning a boat is having friends that own a boat. And I
right,
got I got 3 friends that, like, my core group of friends back home in the Yulee, Florida area where I grew up, town north of Jacksonville. That they all got boats, so I never had to have one. My one friend's got 2 boats. He's got a boat that'll go offshore and another flat bottom John boat for gigging flounder. I don't know if you've ever been flounder gigging, but
no,
it's literally stabbing fish with a spear. There's nothing more manly than that. And one
I've
time we
seen it
went out
before.
with them, and we went out with them. I think it was like it was bad weather, windy, choppy. I was the only one to flounder gig. I got one. It was a big flounder. I took it
That's
home,
good eating
cleaned it,
though.
cooked it the next day. I love flounder. So yeah.
It's good
Anyway,
eating. I wanna send a message to Joe. Joe, you never struck me as somebody who went fishing or goes fishing. So nothing you say to that regard is shocking to me. So thank you for chiming in on that. But I wasn't expecting you to say anything other than what you said. So thank you for that comment. Now,
Uh,
being this is the Black Powder podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed in spatial effects and on the cyber networks and the AOL networks, going back to Starlink and all kinds of stuff like that you see. I want to thank you for watching, listening, or wherever you are. Today we are sponsored by the Black Powder Podcast. Please give a like, a listen, and share, because we are bringing you actual libertarian opinions, not the duopoly bullshit. I can say cuss words because Tubbs not on here tonight, and I feel that's the only benefit to not having, because I respect Tubb, I really do, but he hurts my feelings way too much, and I'm just trying to keep it moving forward. But tonight we're gonna we just have a few topics for you because we like to keep you appraised of current events. We want to talk about the current status of the Libertarian Party under new leadership. And with that being said, I'm gonna pass it off to my guy Eric and lead us into this segment, my good man.
yeah. First of all, I am feeling very encouraged with the messaging coming out from Stephen Nikela from his personal account on X, and the Libertarian Party national platform since he's become the chair. And I put out a statement on X. I basically said fundraising is up, and I don't have the numbers, but I've seen so many people who quit having an active membership over the last 2 years, maybe longer. And some people even say, because Stephen and Kayla, they're now the proud owner of a lifetime membership, which is like you pay, I don't know, it's $1,500 or something, Libertarian National, and you're a lifetime member. And I've seen multiple people say they're encouraged to see what's coming out, and they're members again at National, or even lifetime members, first time lifetime members at National. But and the fact that all the trolls that, to me, I feel give the Libertarian Party a bad name just by being associated. The fact that they're all butthurt over his messaging tells me he's doing something right. Look, a lot of people are mad because he basically told the chair of the Libertarian Party of Colorado that she should be more professional when using official communication, basically the X account from the Libertarian Party of Colorado. And I agree with that. You can go look at Stephen Nikela's personal X account, and he says, I guess, gay or retard on his own X account all the time. And it's not, that's fine. It's his personal account. What he's not doing is using the official LP account, or people use the LP New Hampshire account and say some divisive or controversial clickbaity stuff. That's really what they're doing. Is they say something, they touch that third rail with their page consistently to the point where
Consistently, yes.
it's where it's played out. It's not, I don't know. It's it's theater. You know what I mean? They're doing it for clicks and shares, and sometimes it worked. They got national attention over it, but is it positive national
No.
attention? Is it gonna anything that's gonna help grow the party? So I think Stephen and Kayla's doing a pretty good job so far. And I'm encouraged. I hope they take it serious. I hope that they find ways to help candidates that can win, whether that's local or even a state level race, or a major mayoral race. I don't know if y'all know this, but I think the mayor of Kansas City, and I forget her name. I think it's Kansas City.
I thought it was in Iowa.
No. This is old. This was back in 2023. Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Lily. This was what year was that? Lily Wu, the first Libertarian mayor of Wichita, Kansas, first Asian American to hold the position. And from what I heard, she didn't get any help from the Libertarian Party. And to be honest, like had she been associated with them much more than she was, it probably would have hurt her more than helped her. But that's a major city.
Yeah.
This was years ago. But as you mentioned, we had the mayoral win in Wisconsin or wherever it's at. Where's it at?
It's in
Iowa,
Oklahoma.
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 You
There
know,
was another person in Iowa, but recently, Mayor Merrill, and I forgot the name of the city in Oklahoma. My bad, because we're trying to get him on here. But yeah, he just recently won his election. Not that long ago.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is I think National should reach out to Lily Wu, who ran in Wichita, and be like,
Right.
"Hey, what'd you do to win? We need your
Exactly.
playbook." And we could run mayoral candidates in pretty large cities. I'm not saying Wichita's not, Charlotte, North Carolina or anything,
Yeah.
but it's pretty decent size. Or LA, I don't know, Sacramento. I don't know. I don't
For
even
the
know where you
state,
live,
that's
Marcus.
huge.
But
For
yeah,
for Kansas, that's huge. Wichita
yeah,
is a major city in Kansas.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like that is the type of playbook we need to replicate.
Exactly.
Now, and I'm also fine with like focusing attention, maybe not a lot of resources, but attention on like national level races. For example, like Tom Tillis, I'm pretty sure here in North Carolina, I think he's a senator, he might be a congressman, can't remember. He's pretty freaking terrible, and he needs to be primaried. Let's look up this fool here in North Carolina. And I'm not saying I'm gonna run against him because my wife won't let me. But if she would, yeah, he's a U.S. senator in North Carolina.
Okay.
He's garbage, and everyone hates him. So, Libertarian Party needs to primary him, and I'd like to see him actually run like a serious candidate and make a real push, get 10%, make some noise.
I want to post this. Not this one. My bad, Joe. But this one. As far as the California LP convention in July, uh, third week of July, it's a hard maybe because it's a 4.5 hour drive. But I have things happening around that time. But I just recently got a call to go there earlier this week, and I'm not saying no. I can't say yes, but I'm leaning towards yes because a 4.5 hour drive is nothing for me. Uh, I did travel ball with my son for years and years and years, so that's like a little bit past going to Las Vegas for me. So I'm looking at it, and I'm truly trying to go there. So don't count me out, but we shall see. And
Mark,
yeah, I understand that. But I want to post this comment: Eric Parker for Senate. I can get you 2 votes in North Carolina. I know 2 people very personally in the Raleigh Durham area around Cary and whatnot, and I can get you 2 solid votes for Senate in North Carolina. So,
those two votes, how do they lean politically? Like, do you know?
so, um, and I salute out to Lars Mapstead because this is the philosophy that he mentioned that I've also always had is to sell the people the Libertarian Party. Now, one of the votes, this guy was a hardcore Republican, heartfelt conservative, and all I did was tell him logically that all the complaints that he had about government were wholly and entirely the responsibility of the duopoly. And he participated in everything that he so-called disliked about government by voting for the Republican Party. And that's what I'm sorry to insult Americans, but you know what the common denominator between the Democrat and Republican Party is, Eric? I'm sure you
The
know
common denominator,
between the two parties.
they both want big government.
both want big government. They're both spend money we don't have. They both agree on wars we shouldn't be engaging in. And they both want to create a system, a one party system that is going to relieve you of your God given rights. And over the time and course of a few years, we had all these conversations about, foreign policy, domestic policy, all these things. And all you have to do as a libertarian, and that's what I said in my Libertarian State of the Union, all you have to do is point to the logical fallacies of the arguments that they present that the other side is the problem. Because what we've seen over the last 3 months is the same thing we saw over the last 4 years as far as spending, because the bill that they passed for the federal budget as $3 trillion in debt over the next 3-4 years. And
Yeah. And there's
that
only like 3 people in Washington, D.C. that are calling out these spending bills. And you could list them on one hand. You know what I mean? You could
yeah
list them on one hand if you've lost 2 of your fingers in a fireworks accident.
and that's what's hilarious to me is, people say this is what I voted for, but the other side says the same thing when their person is in charge. This is what I voted for. And what changes? Absolutely nothing. Nothing
Whoa.
changes until Americans decide that they want a true directional change in our current government and add a third party to the mix. That's, to me, the Libertarian Party doesn't necessarily have to win the presidential election. They don't have to win governors. They don't have to win the Senate or even Congress. We don't have to win any of that. What we need to do is make those races competitive to where Democrats and Republicans, the duopoly, has to be honest. And that's the problem. They don't have to be honest. All they have to do is tell you why the other side sucks. And that's exactly what they do. Oh, you don't want to vote for this guy because you're not going to be able to get 14 abortions in 14 years. Or you don't have to vote for this guy because blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is that
He's
they're,
gonna make your red dye illegal.
yeah.
Look, who wants to eat an entire jar of pickled eggs if there ain't red dye in it? You know what I mean? No one.
That's the homie RFK right
That's
now.
right.
But what I find interesting about America is Michelle Obama. That every first lady tends to pick a platform that they want to go out there and say that's their thing. And she picked healthier school lunches, and the right had a hissy fit. Sarah Palin went to a school when she was the vice presidential candidate, bought the kids cookies and other kinds of sugary snacks, saying that we shouldn't be limiting these kids' dietary wants and whatnot. And I was like, that's some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. Wanting people to be healthy should not be a partisan issue. Now with the Maha people, they've seen the light and they want to ban all these things that the rest of the world were like. Europe, the red dye 40, whatever it was, has been banned in Europe for 30, 40 years because they knew. Europe will not accept the beef products produced in the United States because of the main source of our beef protein in the United States are worn out dairy cows, and a lot of Americans don't know that. And these dairy cows are pumped full of antibiotics and all kinds of other stuff for them to keep producing milk and stay healthy in their confined environment, because they're usually in pens and are fed through troughs, and they're just walking around in their own shit and piss all day. And you know, those things are.
Abolish the USDA. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm not opposed to any sort of removing government from your life, but I have a serious concern about corporate America, because you're too young to remember mad cow disease, or are you?
Well, I mean, who's to say I don't have it? You know, right?
Nobody knows if they have it, because it only affects you 10 to 20 years after you contract it. That's the craziest thing about mad cow disease, is when they introduce the nervous system of a cow that has that disease into the food chain, and it takes 10 to 20 years to develop in humans.
Do you know how we solve all these problems? I love how we segued into digging in RFK Jr. That was pretty smooth. But RFK Jr. never mind. We pass Thomas Massey's Prime Act. So everyone watching right now, or whenever you see this later, I need you to share this video on Twitter and tag Rep Thomas Massey. Tell him we want him to come on and talk about his Prime Act. So what his Prime Act would do is, your local farmers can't sell to your local grocery store because of government and the USDA, and it's got to go through all these inspections. But the federal government should only be in charge of anything commerce if it's interstate.
Interstate,
commerce.
yeah.
So, but currently that's not the case. Thomas Massey's Prime Act wants to make it to where a local farmer can, in the state of Kentucky, for example, or any state you live in, I say Kentucky because that's where he's at, can sell his beef directly to the Piggly Wiggly or the beef cow Wiggly, whatever store there is in Kentucky. I don't know, never been. Whatever your local grocery store. Here we have Harris Teeter, Food Lion, Publix, Walmart. Imagine if your local farmer with his beef farm, his cattle farm, could sell his meat to your local grocery store. The meat is still inspected, but it doesn't have to be USDA inspected, because that's the problem. Right. And that's also how our beef gets so expensive. That is USDA inspected. Is, guess what? Those inspectors cost money, and only the biggest food processing plants, the industrial farming institutions, can afford to pay a USDA inspector to inspect the meat on their farm. I think, you know what I mean? Whatever that cost is. So your local guy, he can't afford to pay a USDA inspector to inspect his food. So the way a lot of like a USDA, or excuse me, your local cattle farmer, the way he has to sell his cow to you, he can't sell you individual steaks. He has to sell it by the quarter cow, half cow, whole cow, a freezer special. He'll process it for you, or you can have somebody process it, but that's how they sell it. Instead of being able to sell it, they could also sell it at a farmer's market, but that requires them to process the beef, to store it, to put it on a refrigerated trailer, take it to the farmer's market, and hope it gets sold. That's more expensive than if they could just sell it directly to Food Lion, and they use Food Lion's food processor. So, pass the Prime Act. Let's get Thomas Massey on the Black Powder Podcast.
Dear Mr. Massey, the Black Powder Podcast is a huge fan of yours. We believe in your messaging, and we need you to bring it here like Justin Amash did. Justin Amash was he was just simply impressive, because he was for America, like I believe Thomas Massey is for Tommy Massey is for America.
That's what all his friends call him. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Well, Tommy is a friend of the Black Powder Podcast because we're all fans of his, because he is somebody who is willing to stand against. And our guest last week, also from the great state of Kentucky, um, you know, I, I think Kentucky is surpassing, and we mentioned this last week, is surpassing New Hampshire for the outward libertarian political sphere that America needs. So, wait, I want to bring up this comment. Is Eric writing down Marcus' dictations? Are you writing down my?
I don't know what he's trying to say there. Is he trying to say like I went on one of your level rants just now? Is that what that's supposed to mean? I don't know.
Well, I appreciate if you go on one of my level rants because I am a narcissist at heart. I
What?
jest. I jest. I will
What?
not BS anybody and say that
Oh,
I am not an extremely um opinionated personality. And I will say this to the people: if you've never been to a libertarian event, you don't know what you're missing because you'll never see such an eclectic mix of personalities. I mean, you have the whole spectrum, and that's what I love about the Libertarian Party. You have
speaking of
everybody.
autism.
Yeah, we need to qualify that statement. Speaking of functional autism, go ahead.
Is it the whole spectrum? I was gonna make
We
that joke.
represent the whole spectrum.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
are you going to be there, Eric? The
No, there
11th in June.
I'm not planning on being at the LPF convention in June. My wife's due in July, and I'd
Okay.
hate to be 6 hours
Yeah, you can't.
away.
Yeah, you
Something
can't.
happened, you know. But yeah.
No, don't.
Now
Yeah,
I am planning on being at the Libertarian Party of North Carolina convention. That's next month sometime. Look it up, lpnc.org. So if you want to stop in and meet me, my work schedule is going to interfere with some days, so I'm not going to go as a delegate just because I don't think I'll be able to stay for the whole thing, and I don't want there to be an important vote and someone else who can be there the whole time lose out on their opportunity to be a delegate. So I will not be a delegate at LPNC's LP North Carolina's convention, but I plan
where's
on being
that
there.
at? Where's it going to be at?
Clemens, North Carolina. I'm pretty
What the
sure
hell
it's
is
the same.
Clemens? I
It's kind of in between Winston-Salem and Hickory. So on
okay,
I-40, I'm pretty sure.
okay, because the
It
I
takes
40 actually is about it starts about, I would say, roughly 75, 80 miles exactly away from me, northeast away from me. You
yeah,
could
dude.
take
You could
I
just take
40.
that all the way here.
I could take the 15, which goes to Canada, to the I 40 all the way to North Carolina. But I want to talk to the Libertarian Party real quick because the California Libertarian Party convention is in Santa Dela, California. I I got that email and a phone call this week, and this week I learned where Santa Dela, California was. Why does the Libertarian Party pick the most obscure places and the chosen states they wish to represent? I mean, California is a huge state. It's the most populous state in the union. But I lived here all of 50 plus years, and I've never heard of the city where they're having the California convention. And I would just hope the Libertarian Party would realize we need to hit the population centers where there's actually, outside of the convention, there's things to do. Because this city, I've never, it's not known for anything in the state of California, and that really says something. And I've never heard of the place where the North Carolina convention is. And
So
Joe says central location. I was
yeah,
like, that's
that
also a no because it would have been a little bit further south, like Bakersfield in California, if it was a central location.
so the Libertarian Party of North Carolina is in Clemens, North Carolina, Friday through Sunday, May 16th through the 18th. It's at the Village Inn Hotel and Event Center, and they do it there every year. And they're like, "Hey," and honestly, that hotel's been very accommodating for us. We do it in that same place every year, and the quote is like, "We're here at the Village Inn again because no one volunteered for the convention committee to pick a different place, so we're here again." Basically, is how it goes.
That's kind of messed up. I would have blamed the people of North Carolina for not expanding their minds past because North Carolina is somewhat of a purple state
Yeah.
because
Well, so
Obama won it twice.
to Joe's point, Clemens is central. It's kind of like you got the mountains and you got the beaches. And I would argue, and if I like Greensboro would be better
Yeah.
because it's a little bit bigger. It's not too big. It's only 45 minutes from Clemens. You know what I mean? It's really like that's one reason why I'm going. It's a 30-minute drive for me. So it's like, yeah, I'll
Well,
go.
I will also point this fact out that when there's ever a political convention, it's 50% convention, 50% partying and having a good time. So you
Yeah.
need to make sure that people can have a good time because Republicans will have their things in Milwaukee. What is Milwaukee known for?
Beer.
Democrats, yeah, exactly. Democrats will have their thing in Chicago. What is Chicago known for? Shooting up stuff. Who doesn't
I was
like
gonna
shooting up stuff?
I was gonna say like deep dish pizza. Is that a Chicago thing? But
Yeah, if
no.
you want to get all civilized and stuff, but I'm talking about Second Amendment activities and
Gotcha.
going finding out what the ops are doing, and you're like, that's for the ops. You know what I'm saying? So the Democrats are all about going after people, but exactly, beer and guns attract people because
Yep.
that's one of the main premises behind this podcast is enjoying a good beer and shooting a nice firearm, and we just want to make sure that everybody knows this is what this podcast is about: having a good time. And whether that includes alcohol or firearms or deep dish pizza, that's what libertarianism is. It's the individual aspect of what you enjoy doing. And we talk about firearms, but firearms are for self defense, not for going after the ops. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. But I want to transition on to due process because this is a grand topic that we could talk about. There's a lot of things within due process that truly need to be discussed. And one of the things that a lot of people are talking about now is the fact that, the Trump administration is deporting people to SICOT, whatever the hell it's called in El Salvador. And they may not necessarily have been convicted of a crime here in the United States, but when you go to El Salvador, which is ran by a self-proclaimed modern dictator, because that's what he said about himself. He did call himself a dictator, and me as a libertarian and as an American, I have a slight problem with that because I don't know too many good dictators. I don't know if history has ever recorded a good dictator, but when you send somebody on this soil to another place without due process, and at the same time you've thrown around the idea of sending American citizens to the same type of facility, are we really my whole problem with that is you can say your guy's in charge right now and you're fine with that, but what happens when your guy is not in charge and it's somebody on the opposite side of the political spectrum that say, hey, we can do this. I mean, we'll find a left wing dictator and send people there because the courts and the administration have established the fact that we can do that. What makes you think that can't happen to you? Because the whole premise behind this was, you know, the Biden administration went after right wing people. Now we're going after these other people. And do
What do
you?
you mean, other people?
I love using that. I love using that term, other people and you people, extensively. You saw that in the text message today that I sent you
Yeah.
people.
Well, you said, yeah, and I was like, I didn't know. It's like, what? I didn't hear anything about this guy, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, there.
And you only sent it to me, and you were like, you people. And I was like, is this for me and Tub? Because you only sent it to me. You
I
didn't
thought
send
I
it in the
sent it
group
to both
chat.
you guys.
But no,
But
like that one came, and maybe it's when sometimes it'll break up a group text and send it individually.
yeah,
That one just came to me, and you're like, have you people heard of so and so? And that's why I was like, no. And you were like, no, what? I'm like, what do you mean, no, what? I ain't heard of. So that's might have been what happened is you did send it to a group text and it got broke up.
so Joe says we need to run for our state's ECs, which I'm assuming is the
Executive
electoral.
committee of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
I
I'm
am
hoping.
already, I guess, current events. I know we're kind of we'll come back to due process. All I got to say about due process is uh, everyone here that is here legally deserves due process. So if you're not doing some form of investigation and legal due process, how do you vet who received it? If, you know what I mean? A lot of people, oh, you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet. It's like, yeah, but if you deport someone who didn't deserve to be deported because you didn't give them due process, that's the equivalent of putting one bad egg into your omelet and spoiling the whole bunch. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I can
getting
dig
that
it.
on the big time.
There was a person from the state of Florida that who was a American citizen that was in and out of federal and county jail or something to that effect, and they hadn't received due process, and they were slated to be deported. And I've read about this over the last couple of weeks because you know, a lot of people make a big deal of it, and I'm like, okay, so let's see what the big deal. You dig a little deeper into it, and this person is a U.S. citizen, and the judge ordered them to be released. But what we're seeing now on the federal and state level is politicians ignoring the third branch of government because the when I say third branch, it goes executive, legislative, and then judicial. Because the judicial, in effect, should have the last say on whether something is constitutional or not. Now, a lot of people could disagree with that or whatever you want to say to that, but when there's been a lot of laws and executive orders that have been anti-liberty, you know. And I'm not trying to get all racial with this shit, but at one time slavery was illegal. I mean, slavery was legal, and helping enslaved people escape was legal. And if you're about liberty, you know the fact that holding people in bondage is not what God intended at any point of his existence. The existence of mankind has always been free. And the only entity that has ever interrupted that freedom was government. I often tell people that, the ultimate liberty of mankind was probably the Stone Age, but you lived collectively in a village where you had to fight off wild animals and invading tribes. So that's where you needed a expanded um, conglomerate of fellow like-minded individuals to protect yourself, and that's the collectivism of liberty, because we can't go this alone at any point in human existence. Going it alone in human existence was the end of your bloodline. But at the same time, the only form of collectivism that truly brought us prosperity is when we interacted economically and for the greater good of preventing foreign adversaries from attacking us. And that's the only thing the federal government should be um, here for, is protecting us from foreign adversaries. Everything else should be free market and absolute liberty. What would you say to that, my good man?
I think you're on top of it. You're over the target, as we would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we don't necessarily need more government. And this kind of goes back to the RFK Jr. thing. Like, we don't necessarily need a big nanny state taking care of us. What I want and what we need from our government is you protect my rights whenever the government infringes upon me and my liberties. That's really it. Step in and help me, and to an extent, whenever like an individual or a corporation robs or steals from me or breaks a contract, you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. There's plenty of mutually beneficial relationships that we enter into on a daily basis without the government, or at least with limited government. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people say, like, well, your grocery store gets its public utilities, blah blah. Yeah, but they pay a fee for that. The company I work at has probably a $20,000 water bill from the city of Winston Salem. You know what I mean? Like every month, because they use a crap load of water, but they produce a product and they sell it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm smelling what you're stepping in and picking on what you're putting down. We're on the same page.
I worked for a company. Our electricity bill was about $130,000 a month back in the day when I was in the private sector. And what's crazy about that is the government helped build that electrical grid through stolen tax dollars
and
and
stolen land.
And stolen land through eminent domain, and then turns around and gives it to a private sector company without any recourse, or they'll say we'll get tax dollars on the sales and all of that stuff. That's all BS. And with that, I wanted to segue into.
Hold up. It's not. I remembered earlier before the show, I was like, man, there's a law, and I got to look it up, and I haven't done my research. Please, people, if you'll do this for me. But someone at we had our Libertarian Social last night for the county, Guilford County, and somebody brought up a law in North Carolina that says that the police no longer need a warrant to search your cell phone. Now, I am ready for the lawsuit and the appeals and the Supreme Court ruling that throws that out. But so I haven't looked into that law, but that was the law. You remember, I was like, man, I can't remember it. It's a big one, North Carolina law. It was huge. Yeah. And for some reason, I was thinking it had to do with eminent domain, and then like clearly it just popped right into my head. That's took me 4 beers to be able to remember what that was. So I had to get on the same level as I was yesterday.
What's crazy is the federal government has the right. If you travel overseas, let's say you go from you fly out of Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and you go to Italy and Milan to enjoy some original, the home of the original pizza and whatnot and pasta. Enjoy yourself. You come back home
20
and
pounds heavier.
20 pounds heavier. The federal government has the right to search your phone. A lot
Now,
of
hold on.
Americans, yeah.
I don't know that you're wording that wrong.
I don't think they have the right. I don't think that's right.
I don't
Now,
think they have the right either. But
they might have a legal precedent,
yeah,
but I don't know
exactly.
that that's a right. You know?
No, they don't have the right.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about rights, we're talking about rights. We're not talking about rights. Rights.
Right.
We're talking about the original concept of rights.
Now I got to look up if I've been spelling it wrong this entire time. Rights versus rights.
Rights versus rights. I would ask all Americans to truly look that up because that's an important concept that you need to understand the difference between.
All right, here it goes.
All right.
I learned something, and I think this is what you're getting at. Rights, rights, and rights, rights, are homophones. We're not homophobic on this podcast.
No, we're not. We accept everybody.
Yeah, we will allow these homophones on the podcast, meaning they sound the same but have different meanings. Rights, rights, refers to ceremonies, rituals, or formal observances, often with a religious or cultural context. And then rights, on the other hand, rights, refer to entitlements, freedoms, or privileges that are due to a person. See, that's my problem, is that even with that definition, they're throwing in privileges along with freedoms and entitlements. I think entitlements and freedoms can I guess coexist, but they're still not the same. You know what I mean? Like, you have a legal entitlement, like you're entitled, and that has a lot to do with like your property title is an entitlement to you own it. It's the use of your property as you see fit, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that's interesting. Rights versus rights. Is this something that they've just been doing as a ritual and getting away with because it's culturally accepted, or is this a freedom?
See that, and therein lies the point I was trying to make, and the point you expanded on. Government has only existed in its entirety to deny you the rights, the rights, and then they sell you the rights, the rights, that you think you own, and then that's why you'll see in America, you'll see a 65-year-old man who got pulled over by a 23-year-old police officer, call him sir. And I'm from down south. Well, I was born in Dallas, Texas, but I grew up in Southern California. That's down South California. Well, my parents are from Alabama.
Down south.
And
you did go to college down south, so
yeah, I did.
So you became a man down south,
right? But it was all about the logical respect of your elders, and you go up as far as the respectable acknowledgement of a person's being as your youth versus their elderness. My dad required us to say yes, sir, when he called us. When I went to my friend's house, it was Mr. Smith, Mr. Johnson, or whatever, Mr. whoever
you hung out with a lot of white dudes.
Well, actually,
Smith
Mr.
and Johnson.
Mr. Smith was black, and Mr. Johnson was also black, because Irish and the Anglo. We're going to have it another time. But I literally referred to childhood friends' dads when I said Mr. Smith and Mr. Johnson. But we grew up where we respected the people older than us, and we referred to them in their proper terms. As far as Mister, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. That's the way I grew up as a child of Southerners. What the government has done was elevated itself above even that,
Yeah.
where the government feels it's omnipotent, where you'll get pulled over by a much younger 30, 40-year younger person, and you'll be like, yes sir, no sir. That's subjugation. That's when you feel like you are lesser than the government. And anytime you feel like you're lesser than the government, you have failed yourself as an American. Because America was founded on making sure the government knew its place. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights are not rules for you and I. It's rules for the government. It says what the government can and can't do. What the government has done off the Bill of Rights is expand itself, particularly after 9/11, because they said if these people with box cutters and a crazy ideology can take over an airplane and kill 3,500 Americans, the only entity that could truly save you from such events is the government. And what Americans have done is relinquish the power to the government. And what they're doing now is saying, due process. I don't know whose car is getting broken into outside of my house right now. But what the
Do you
government
need to go
has said
check on
is,
it?
no, I got cameras. My camera hasn't blinked. It's over. But
All
what the
right.
government has
Is
said,
that a possum behind you right there?
dude, don't do that. I told you. I'm going to shoot that possum. For those who don't know what Eric and I are talking about,
Yeah, you gotta clip that one.
my one of my German shepherds. I have 3 of them. Excuse me. The mother, father, and the son brought in a baby possum into my house Sunday or Monday. Uh, Tuesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, I saw a possum in my rafters because this is in my garage. I saw a animal come down out of the rafters in the garage, and now I told Eric before we came on live that if I freak out, there's an animal behind me or on to the side of me that's going out, and I was possibly going to shoot it as if it came anywhere close to me. So that's what Eric's referring to. But back to the government. The
It
government,
sucks, and we hate it.
and so I wanted to talk because people are talking about the dude that got exported to El Salvador and got sent to CCOT or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily disagree with deporting people who came here illegally because I live in California and they will guarantee rights for people who came here illegally but deny my rights to own a Generation 5 Glock pistol. And that's a huge problem for me. But I expect those people to have a day in court to make sure everything is on the up and up.
Yeah.
Because I want every American to have that right. And if you're in America, there should be a blanket policy that you are due the basic privileges, not the privileges, the basic rights, rights, of the United States Constitution and the basic 10 amendments of the United States Constitution.
Isn't there a scene in a movie, and I feel like it's Jim Carrey for some reason, but he gets like he can't speak, like his tongue's numb, and he's oh man, I feel like dang it, that Fun with Dick and Jane, it might be in that, but he's like working with the illegals because he's trying to make some money,
Yeah,
and then like something
yeah,
happens,
that
he
was
can't
fun with
talk.
Dick and Jane. Yes,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he can't talk, and doesn't he get deported, and he's got to sneak back in. Like that's all I'm saying is, last thing we need is Jim Carrey. Well,
Last
he's
thing we
Canadian
need is you and
anyway,
I
but
being
yeah,
deported. Yeah.
exactly. Like all I'm saying is that, and for the record, like where I work at, if there weren't people there with green cards, I'm not obviously green cards, that means you're here legally. But if there weren't people here on work visas, the plant I work at would shut down. Let's just put it that way. Half the people there, I could barely understand what they're saying. So
And
they are running. They're the operators. They're running the machines. You know what I mean. So and the other half are got ankle monitors on. You know what I mean. So
and I will say this to that effect, because people will talk trash about my state, the great state of California. But
we say I'll say the OK state of California.
The great state of California. But California being the fourth or fifth largest economy in the entire world, there's some the one of the main reasons behind that is the agricultural sector, because California is the breadbasket of the United States. We grow crops that we send. I say we like I have something to do with it. I don't have shit to do with it.
You
But
buy your strawberries every week.
The state of California sends its agricultural products all over the world, primarily to the other 49 states of California. So, with that being said, um, we need to have a logical immigration program, because there are certain jobs that Americans won't do. Agriculture is primarily the first jobs that America won't do. Americans will work at the Dollar General for minimum wage and have to deal with the worst of the worst people that America has to offer. But Americans will not pick strawberries and tomatoes. Because Dollar General, you attract
There's air conditioning in Dollar General. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like as soon as we get indoor aquaponic strawberry farms, which they probably exist somewhere.
Somebody still has to pick them though. And I will speak for every black person in the United States, all 13% of us. We ain't picking shit. We're not going to remove any agricultural product from its vine, tree, or bush, whatever it is. We're not doing none of that. And the people that are coming here and are willing to do that need to have a mechanism where they could do that without being subjected to any type of deportation, because it's simply the economics of what we're doing in a global capitalistic economy that we have right now. Because people fail to understand that aspect. This is a global capitalistic economy. Whenever you have communist China participating in a global capitalist economy, we know that capitalism has won. And with capitalism being the victor in this political or economical situation, we need to understand that we need to adapt to that. And we can't have that Radio Shack mentality where we're just gonna keep going forward with that business model. Manufacturing is not coming back to the United States in the sense that it was when the United States after World War II was the only place that wasn't devastated to rubble, because Europe was the industrial capital of the world prior to World War II. It was obliterated. Asia was still in the 18th century, minus Japan during World War II.
So
Africa, yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt I want to ask you, what is it about Japanese manufacturing that is so superior when it comes to reliability, specifically motor vehicles, but anything technologically, you know what I mean? Like that's their export, right?
It's well,
Any technology and motor vehicles. It's more
uh,
reliable. What
it's
is it about Japanese culture since World War II that made them become a corporate giant and ahead of the curve? If you look at the reliability of vehicles, Toyota, Honda, and believe it or not, Mazda are like top 3 in
Acura,
reliability.
Lexus.
Well, yeah, Acura, Alexa, they're the premium trends of Toyota and Honda. Like those 5 are on the reliability trend. They're the most reliable vehicles. And then sometimes you'll get BMW. And out in the United States, believe it or not, it would be Buick is on the reliability spectrum, if you will.
As, as far
Like
as
what is it? What is it?
the homogenous culture,
All right.
because
Expound briefly. Expound briefly.
my daughter
So,
would
like, here was my theory, and tell me if this is just some crazy
go
conspiracy
ahead, yeah.
theory. Is up until World War II, they were all about war, samurai culture,
Yeah.
battle. And then after World War II, they said, "Oh crap, these guys got nukes. We're done here." And they gave up on war as their export, and they said we got to focus on something else. And they chose technology. They chose manufacturing.
They the Japanese culture has always been about the Japanese people. And you can look at South Korea, you can look at China, and you can look at other so-called second world countries. They've always had a culture that has been singularly focused. That's one of America likes to think of their multiculturalism as their strength, but the problem with America, with our multiculturalism, is some cultures have viewed themselves as superior. When you have a singular culture that is moving a singular population forward, you have a focused energy that will bring people to understand we could do this um, as a holistic people, and that's what I don't like about Americans. Japan has its different political cultures and different political parties, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for Japan. When you look at America, we also have that multitude of different philosophies, but Americans don't look at each other as equals in the sense that Japan does.
I'll say this: if it means that the United States had to become a white nationalist country for us to succeed in manufacturing, I'm okay with not being good with manufacturing. If that makes you get my point,
Yeah,
like I'm perfectly fine with multiculturalism or whatever, and we don't gotta be, in my opinion. Now, the stock market and finances will take a hit, but we don't have to be the world leader in everything. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
That's 100%. Yeah, that's true. But what
someone
Americans,
had a
I will
I was
say
gonna say
this.
someone had a great point, and it's like, look, the best way to spread the message of freedom from the United States is we show them our movies, show them our music,
Culture.
sell them our blue jeans, sell them our culture, and that's like, you know what I mean? We've mentioned, I don't know who actually said the quote, could have been you. I could be quoting Marcus right now. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, it's weird to think about like post World War II, and like all that stuff is trending right now on X, whatever, the Holocaust and World War II, and Nazi Germany, and it's like, like kind of what not, but like Volkswagen, BMW, Siemens Electronics or Controls, like those were all companies that were around in Germany during World War II, and some of them
They were 100% Nazi companies.
yeah.
Literally,
not all of them. Volkswagen might be the only one that was 100% Nazi companies, but the other ones made things. Yeah, and like Hugo Boss made the SS uniforms, and Adidas. Yeah. Adidas did, made the regular dude uniforms. Like, I'm just saying, all those companies are still around, and like Run DMC was rocking Adidas. You know what I mean? Like,
I regularly wear. I'm wearing Adidas shoes right now. I would say 90% of the shoes I owned are Adidas, and that's why I so much believe in capitalism, because there's also redemption. There's also modern times that we need to move on from. But when you talk about certain aspects of culture and whatnot, I mean, we should not overlook the past, because what history should be is a lesson of what worked and what didn't, not what makes you feel good about yourself or your culture or anything like that. History is nothing more than a lesson. And when Americans go to their public schools, that's why I'm for school choice. When Americans go to their public schools, they're taught, George Washington chopped down the cherry tree, which is 100% a fallacy of the story. Or they're taught about Paul Revere warning about the British. He failed in his mission. Paul Revere was captured by the British, and he never warned a damn person. No. And that's what America needs to move away from, is this fallacy of government propaganda. Because people, when they think propaganda, they think Russia, the communist bloc. Those are the people that sold their people a load of crap. Americans are being fed a load of crap, that the duopoly has their best interest in mind. One thing we've been talking about recently at work is how when the stock market crashes, gold goes up, because that's what's been happening lately, except for today, because the stock market went up today and gold went up today, which was I would call an anomaly. But typically, the stock market is based on speculation. Gold is
Marcus. I don't know if Marcus
based on
froze.
a physical presence of a commodity. All right, we're back. I'm not sure what happened there.
Dude, you were froze for a minute. I thought the possum got you. I thought you.
Now the possum hasn't got shot yet, but
I thought you pulled your cat out, and I thought you accidentally shot your router.
But that's what I said. Whenever gold crashes, America should buy lead. Whenever gold rises, America should buy lead, because the stock market is speculative and is based on what may or may not happen. Commodities like gold and lead are based on what you can actually do when things happen. You can either trade or you can shoot. It's one or the other.
Gotcha. But yeah, I wanted to make sure when you're saying lead, it's like, do you mean literally just going out and buying lead? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I was like,
you got me now. Yeah. Yeah, when I say lead, it's usually
Look, when
JHP or
gold's going up and stock's going down, it's time to go start cutting off catalytic converters off people's cars and taking them to this is not financial advice. I am not a financial professional.
And with that being said, I want to send a shout out to Lars Bapstead, one of the greatest libertarian investors that we have in our society, and we need him on. I reached out to him. We need you on, Lars, because we need you to talk about the stock market. Because most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So when people was like, "Oh, you just need to buy the dip," most Americans are looking at you like, "What the hell are you talking about? I got like $45 to my next paycheck in 3 days." So that's why I want to have Lars on so we could get some strategy.
Should I live right now text Lars, see if he wants to be on Black Powder Podcast next week?
I think you're putting him on the spot, and I love my guy Lars. He's always been one of my favorite dudes. Him and Chase. I'm sorry for everybody else who was, because we had just about every libertarian candidate on, but him and Chase were my top two. I'm sorry. So
should I say to discuss stock market and the economy?
yes. And also, I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. Everybody who reached out to us to come on today, we are going to reach out to you because we want you on, because this is the Libertarian podcast. We want to get libertarians on here. We want to expand the Libertarian Party because it's true indeed that the duopoly has failed us all. It has cost a lot of people a lot of money in their retirement. More recently, Joe Biden was a complete failure. Don't take my criticism of Trump as an endorsement of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party sucks. They have failed every single individual that they have supposedly supported, but I don't see the Republican Party as any better. That's why I'm a libertarian.
A
So
call back to like due process. There's a meme going around saying that like now I can't find it, but that like 75% of deportations under Obama didn't get due process, and 90% of them didn't under Bill Clinton didn't get due process. And everyone's like, oh, why all of a sudden do Democrats care about due process when it comes to deportations?
because
Like,
they're not in power.
well, it's like, but wait a minute. Why should it be the goal of any party to get 100% with no due process? You know what I mean? Like, let's get that number in the opposite. Granted, the timing of that, but you get my point. Like, I don't know that any of the ones deported recently got any due process. So,
and
but
that's
anyway,
why
I brought that up just to point out the hypocrisy and exactly the point you were making about like, look, the Democrats aren't doing anything to help you out either. You know what I mean? Like, all they care about is staying in power,
right,
enriching the corporations that support their candidates, and then continuing the cycle. That's it. You know what I mean?
So
watch, rinse, repeat.
Mary J. Ruwert posted a meme today or yesterday where it showed millionaires make up about 1% of the U.S. population. And I'm going to pose this question to you, Eric. Do you know how many millionaires there are in Congress? What percentage of millionaires there are in Congress?
I don't know the percentage, but I bet
50%.
50% of the people in Congress are millionaires.
50%.
And 1% of our population
are millionaires.
Does that make you feel represented there?
No.
Let's pose it that way. Like, is the person in Congress representing you? Like, I want some blue collar 9-to-5 guys to be in Congress, and I want their employer to be like, "Oh, you got elected. Go serve 2 terms.
And you're done.
Yeah, your job's available in 8 years when you get back or whatever. Or I guess 2 terms would be 4 years for Congress. It'd be 12 years for Senate. But you get my point. Like, it would be pretty cool if we get some regular people, not necessarily blue collar. I'm fine with white collar. I'm fine with people that have a good salary. I'm fine with millionaires. If you're representing Silicon Valley or Bel Air or what's there's a neighborhood outside of Nashville,
Oh yeah, I
Tennessee.
know.
It's like the richest zip code. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like if that's where you're representing, it makes sense for you to be a millionaire representing those people.
I will say this, and I will speak this to the American people. No millionaire or billionaire is going to change a system that made them a millionaire or billionaire. So
Exactly.
when you say this guy is a successful businessman, he knows what we need, and you're going paycheck to paycheck. That successful businessman doesn't give a flying flip about you. And that is the simple fact. If that, like you have Nancy Pelosi, and to be fair, she already came from a rich family. We got my guy Kenneth, 50% of the current millionaires. What do you think about the percentage will be when they stop running? 100%. They're they're not changing a system that brought them to power. And you're sitting here, middle America. Here in California, the minimum wage is damn near $20-$25 an hour. But if you're in Iowa, Oklahoma, middle America, the minimum wage, you're making 10, 12, $13 an hour. You know, they're not looking to improve your position. The only thing that can improve your position is true capitalism, where the government isn't supporting and subsidizing these industries, where the government isn't making laws so these particular industries can get away with paying you $10 to $12. The government is not your friend when their only interest is listening to the laws that these corporations propose. And I often say this, everybody has a lobbyist in their local state capital, and then Washington, D.C. Everybody has a lobbyist. Every industry, every business enterprise has a lobbyist um, working on their goals, except the American people. If you or I as Americans were to write a letter to our congressman, our senator, our state representative, our state senator, saying your concerns, you would get a standard letter with a digital signature. Thank you for reaching out to me from your representative saying, thank you for reaching out to me about your concerns. I will take this into consideration and bring this to the attention of the legislative process going forward. Thank you very much. If you wish to contribute to my campaign, here is the link where you can send me 10, 15, $20 to make sure your voice is heard. And your voice isn't heard. You're not moving any needles left or right, whatever you think that this government, when you vote for the duopoly, you're not moving the needle. You're keeping it status quo. The only party currently that I feel is moving the status quo is the Libertarian Party. I had my doubts after last year's election, but I'm not giving up because I'm a fighter. And that's why I love having you, Eric, Tub, Evans, Michael, my guy Joe, that always chimes in. Kenneth Blevins that always chimes in. That Liberty lady, she didn't chime in tonight, and I will call you out, D, on not chiming in tonight. I'm pissed at you.
She'll, when she watches this later, she's gonna be upset. So D, we still love you.
Yeah.
I'm more. I just want to make sure everything's all right. That's what Marcus meant to say. Is he's concerned. Usually you'd have been here. Maybe there's something more interesting going on, but I doubt it because there's not a better podcast that's talking about liberty on. You know what I mean? There ain't one out there. All right.
Not at all. Thank you, Eric, for expounding upon my point.
So
we're at
D. We want to know if you're all right. Let us know.
Yeah. D, please comment on this. We're gonna be looking for you tomorrow. Eric, do you have anything else?
A quick rundown. I know this is like a current events episode. Currently with me, as most of y'all know, my wife's with child right now. She's pregnant.
Excellent.
Due July 31st. Everything's going great. Appreciate it. I formerly was the chair of the Libertarian Party Guilford County for the last year. We had a county convention. There's a new chair, Travis Grew, out of Wake County. He just moved here, but he's good. I accepted the position of secretary and treasurer for our county affiliate. So I got the keys. I'm holding the bag.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, I'm still a candidate coordinator, Libertarian Party of North Carolina. So if you're interested in running for office as a Libertarian in the state of North Carolina, reach out. Other than that, I'm just holding it down. You know what I mean? This is a blast. Good catching up with everybody. I have a lot of fun with these episodes where we don't have a guest on, and me and Marcus can cut up a little bit. So
last week was awesome. Our guest last week, and he was a Republican.
Yeah.
And we're not going to discard anybody who talks about liberty. You know, some people are like, oh, why are you having a duopoly on? I was like, we listen to everybody. We want to hear people who truly believe in America. And, you know, truly believing in America isn't necessarily voting for Democrats or Republicans. Truly believing in America is believing and everybody has a place here. And that doesn't mean that your place is above my place, because a lot of left and right want to elevate their position above everybody else. Fair competition is a primary principle of the Libertarian Party, and you can take that as you want it. Fair competition extends to high school sports, college sports, political sports, and daily life. Fair competition, meaning you should not have any particular advantage over the next person. And a lot of people can take that as they want it. That is the do no harm principle of the Libertarian Party that this podcast believes in. Do no harm. Do not have a unfair advantage over somebody else simply because of who you were born. You know, I'm not trying to get into all of that. All I'm saying is, you know, competition has a level playing ground, and let the best entity win, if I can say it like that. Eric, do you get where I'm going, bro?
I'm smelling what you're stepping in. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
All right. So, with that being said, this has been the Black Powder Podcast. We believe in one firm principle here, and it's live free or die. I would ask anybody who's listening, watching, or whatever it is to please share this podcast, because we always have your best interest in mind. We will always be on your side, not the government, because the government is not on our side. The government is a entity that is only taking away your rights. And with that being said, I want to say, as we always do in closing, Eric, are you done?
I'm here. What's up? Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I want to say one message to Tub. Severely disappointed.
Yeah, don't be a Mark butt trick. All right. Okay. Tell.
Hey, I kind of take that that Mark comment personal, but Tub,
That's
that don't be a jerk, bro. You know it's Thursdays. Between we're and I want to announce this to the people. We might be going on earlier on Thursdays soon, between 5 and 5:30, and 6, because my guy Eric is about to be a daddy, and we need to accommodate him because he's an integral part of this program. But I want to thank my guy Eric because you do a lot for this program. I truly appreciate you. You know, North Carolina is on my short list of states that I will retire to, and you know that's within the next 5 to 10 years when I do that part. Maybe actually it's between 10 and 15 years till I retire. But North Carolina is on that list. So thank you very much, Eric, for representing the great state of North Carolina. There's only one state greater than where Eric lives, and that's the great state
Florida.
of Southern California, where we have a bill. I just want to expand on one point. We have a bill in California right now that might outlaw Glock pistols because attachments you could put on them. And
Can we quit calling that state great at that point?
no, because we have In and Out. We have the best weather in Southern California.
In and
Yeah.
Out is outside of California now. They've made it out. Okay. In and
Yeah.
Out has made it out. And you're right though. I do like In and Out burger.
Yeah, In and Out
That's
is
about it though. That's the only reason. That's all you got. The only reason you have to go to California.
aside from me, I've been in California since I was about 3 weeks old, and because I was born in the great state of Texas, and my parents decided to leave there for obvious reasons in the back in the day. But I want to say I want Eric.
Hold on. Why'd they wait to have you in Texas? Why weren't they already out?
Because you can't take a newborn kid. I was like 2-3 weeks old when my parents moved to California.
You get my point? Like, why couldn't you have been born in California or anywhere else?
It was timing.
We gotta wait. We gotta wait and have them here because I don't know. Maybe
it was timing. My dad.
I know the doctor.
Yeah, but at any rate,
wait. Oh, never mind.
I want to say, go ahead.
If you lived in Houston, Texas, or around there, you could have been delivered by Ron Paul.
Quite possibly. Yeah,
would have been
because it was around that time, but maybe Ron Paul's presence when I was born in Texas kind of like vibe to me where I have this libertarian philosophy now. So it may have been some kind of epic divine thing where God said, you know, Ron Paul's here, Marcus is here. I want to make sure Marcus goes out and delivers Ron Paul's message to a certain extent about liberty and whatnot. So that was right around, because I was born right around the birth of the Libertarian Party. And that's why I call myself the only real libertarian. But with that being said,
fun trivia fact: Selena was delivered by Ron Paul, the Mexican singer Selena.
Yeah, and after Jennifer Lopez's portrayal of Selena, so many black people came together because she had such nice buns that we were very devastated by her loss because she was
all of a sudden y'all were Selena fans. You're like, oh yeah, I could get behind that.
All I know is hold Hold on. My guy Kenneth said this. Ron Paul made Marcus a libertarian through osmosis. That's what I was trying to point out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna go there, but I was like, I'd have said something wrong.
Libertarianism is also science because
Yep.
science always ends in a logical point through experimentation and
That's how science works.
yeah, and
Don't
and
ask
a
me.
scientific process.
Marcus thinks my what are these? The crackle filter is
Yeah, that's
weird.
pop filter.
That's why I keep it off camera.
I think I threw mine away, the pop filter, because we have to be unfiltered here. You can't have a filter on
Does it work?
libertarianism.
Hold on, wait. Pop. Could you hear that?
Yeah, that I can still hear the pop filter.
Didn't work. Didn't work. I want my money back. Anyways, all right, brother. Did you say live free or die yet?
This has been the Black Powder Podcast. We want to thank everybody who listened, watched, and everything else. We want you to understand that this is the only real libertarian podcast, and we will come to you as many Thursdays as possible during the calendar year with real libertarian issues from a libertarian perspective. So thank you, Eric. Tub, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I'm quite disappointed because I sent him a link.
Get it together, Tub.
Get it together, Tub. With that being said, live free or die. Here comes the. I'm gonna click the
live free or
die.